Welcome to coding. This is Cde115, and when we say coding, it's not all kinds of coding. This is fairly specific. We're going to be doing HTML, hypertext markup language, and CSS, or cascading style sheets. These are the basic code systems we use to make web pages. They are not programming languages. They don't do math and other things that programming languages do. They're more like cascading style sheets, or like style sheets you might do in InDesign or even in Illustrator. And HTML is a way of like marking up your pages to identify basic units like paragraphs, headlines, sidebars, headers, footers, etc. So what we want to do today is simply set up a working environment. The program we're going to be using is a program from Adobe called Brackets. It's free. You can download it from Adobe if you don't have it. It's on all of our lab computers, etc. So the first thing we want to do is set up a file structure. And we do this because for the web, where things are is important. So we need to make sure that the structure is set up properly in the first place before we start creating pages and linking pages together and adding images, etc. So the first thing we're going to do is go to your desktop and make a new folder. So if I look at my file here, there's new folder. We also want to start learning keyboard shortcuts because it just speeds everything up a lot. And notice the keyboard shortcut here is showing up, and that up arrow means shift, and the clover leaf thing means option, and in is simply the in key. So shift, option, or I'm sorry, command, not option. Shift, command, in. So I'm going to do those on my keyboard, and there's my new folder. So it shows up on the desktop because that's where I was when I said to make a new folder. Notice if I click on it, it highlights and I can give it a new name. So I'm going to call it CDE underscore, which is shift of the hyphen, 115, which is our class number. And then I'm going to put in my initials in uppercase. The reason we're using underscores in here is because for the web, the way our links and things work, we do not want spaces in any of our file or folder names. So we're going to, in order to make it still legible, we're going to use underscores between things instead of spaces. Also, limit your use of punctuation marks. In fact, underscore and hyphen are really the only things you probably should use in file or folder names. Do not use slashes, do not use colons, do not use periods, do not use dollar signs. Some of these things will work, but some of them won't, so let's just limit our punctuation marks to underscores and hyphens, and again, no spaces. So I'm going to double click that folder to open it. There it is. And I want to make a new folder inside of this folder. So again, I'm going to do Command Shift in, and it makes a new untitled folder. You probably won't see this DS store thing that gets made automatically. On my computer, I happen to have hidden files showing. You probably don't, so you won't see that. And I'm going to make a new folder in here for my first assignment, and I'm going to call it web underscore 1. So I've got a folder inside a folder. I've got it on the desktop so it's easy to find, and that will be our setup for our first project. So I'm going to close the window. You can hit the little red thing. You can also hit Command W, which will also close the window, either one. And there it is. Now I'm going to open a program called Brackets. It's from Adobe, and it's free. If you are working on one of the lab computers or a computer on campus, Brackets is probably installed, and you will find it in the Applications folder. If you have your own computer and you don't have brackets installed, you can go to the Adobe website and download brackets for Mac, PC, Linux, etc. and install it on your computer. Again, it's free, and we'll be using it for most of our coding projects in this class. So I will open brackets. So there are a number of different ways you can get to a program to open it. You can go under Go, and your applications folder should be showing up. And notice it also has Shift Command A will open applications. You may have a dock somewhere, and if brackets is in the dock, there it is, brackets, you could use that. You can also go to the hard drive, go to applications, and go down to brackets. Also in a folder, once I'm there, if I just hit a letter, it jumps to the first file name that starts with that letter. So that can be a way to jump down. If I know I want something that starts with a B, hit the B, I'll be pretty close. And there's brackets. So I'm going to open it. So any way of opening it is fine. Open it, double click it. And there it is. Right. So in this case, I'm getting an error message because it tries to open the last thing that was opened. And I made an example file, and I later discarded it, so it's not finding it. That's fine. You may see a sidebar like this with a list of things in it. Those are the last thing that somebody worked on your particular computer. To make our life simple, we want to go under File, and we want to open a folder. And this is going to clear out all the stuff in that sidebar, and we can just see the files that we're actually using in our project. So open folder, and this little weird symbol is the option. So Option Command O will open a folder, but I'm just going to hit open folder. It wants to know which one. I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to go to my folder, and I'm going to go to the Web 1 folder. I don't need to go inside of it. I just want to open that folder. And I click Open. And there it is. So now there's nothing over here. I've got the nice, clean, simple look. I'm going to make a new file. And again, I look File, New. There it is. Command N will also make a new file. So either way, again, I'll click off of that and just use Command N. And it makes a new file. The only thing I really see is I see an untitled -1 over here under my working files, and I see a number 1 up top here and a flashing cursor. I'm going to go ahead and save this file. So File, Save, give it Command S. Save All will save a bunch of files. If you have several of them working on a website or something, Save As will let you change the name of your file. So we're going to go to Save. We haven't saved it yet, and we're going to call it web_template.html. Okay? We're going to do all lowercase. File names are case sensitive, and in general, the simplest thing to do, so you don't have to remember what you capitalized or didn't capitalize, etc., is just use lowercase. And again, we can use an underscore or a hyphen, but don't use anything else in terms of punctuation marks, etc., and no spaces. I'm going to save that into my Web 1 folder, and I hit save. And now we're going to make a very simple HTML hypertext markup language file. We're going to save it, and then we're going to publish this to D2L, and that's basically our first little assignment, just to make sure we can all go through this process. We can create a file, save it, compress it, upload it to D2L. So we're going to type some code. And in HTML, we use the angle brackets a lot. They're also called greater than and less than signs. On your keyboard, they're above the comma and the period down at the bottom of the keyboard. So less than is the left angle bracket. Greater than or right angle bracket is the one above the period. And I'm going to type an exclamation point And in caps, I'm going to type doc type space HTML in lowercase. This is a generic bit of code. It's called a tag. So when you see the angle brackets, inside of the angle brackets, you're going to put some code. And these things are called tags. And you can have spaces and things in here. You often will. And I'll hit return. Go to the next line. I'm going to make another tag, and it's going to be HTML. Notice as I type, the brackets will suggest things. Say, oh, maybe you want HTML. If I just hit the return key, it finishes typing that for me. And when I hit return again, it adds a second tag. And notice the slash. The slash is basically telling it to stop doing something. So we've said start doing this thing we're going to call HTML, and then we're going to say that's the end of it. And let's put some more on it. So inside of the HTML tag, we're going to insert another tag, and we're going to call it title. And notice I start typing, and it says, oh, maybe you want time. No, maybe you want title. I want title. And again, as soon as I hit return, it adds the end of the title. So it's a very linear process. Here comes the title. This is the end of the title. So now I have a flashing cursor in there, and I can actually type the title. So I'll call it, this is my web page. Okay. That's going to show up in the top of the browser window in the gray bar, or whatever color it is at the top of the page. And there it is. We're going to also add another tag, and we're going to call it style. There it is, style. You can also just keep typing if you don't want to hit the return key, and end style. We'll get to style in a little bit, but I just want to put it in here for this template file. And I left out something, so we'll go up and put it in. HTML, and this is a good way you can see how you can add code. I want to put in the head tag. And so the head tag is the top part of the document, and it's where things like the titles, some styles, maybe some JavaScript, other things may go there. But I want to move this end head tag, so I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to edit cut, or Command X, and I'm going to put it after the style. And it's doing some indenting here I don't want, so I'm going to put it there. And I'm going to edit paste, Command V. Okay. So now the head, and I can also indent this just so it's very clear that these things are inside of the head of the document. And I'm going to go save my file, so just Command S or drag and save. And now I'm going to add the second part of my HTML document, and that is the body. So this is the simplest page ever. It does almost nothing. It doesn't look like anything. But we've got two parts. We've got the head and we've got the body. And you'll see what those things do as we start to build pages. This is going to be our first page. And let's just call it a template. So I'll add that the title, and I'm going to save it. Right, so I've made this file, and now, as to complete my assignment, we need to upload this to D2L. So that's a fairly simple process, but let's go through it. So I'm going to close my file. So I could go quit brackets. I could hit the red box to close the window. I'll do that. There it is. And when I look at my folder now that we made on the desktop and I look inside of it, there's my web template file. So what I would like to do is upload this assignment to D2L. So there's two steps to it. One is to first compress the folder and its contents. This will turn it into a single file instead of a folder with a file. To do that, I hold down the Control key on my keyboard and I click, and on my Mac I go down to Compress Web 1 and click it. What that does is creates a single file, a zip file, which is basically taking a lot of things and compressing them into a single file. In this case, there's only one thing in our folder, so that doesn't seem that big a deal. But eventually we'll have lots of things in our folder, and we want to make it into a single thing in order to be able to upload it to D2L. And there we are. So once I've created that, the second step will be to upload it to D2L. So I'll stop this recording now, and we'll do that as a second project, process, and I'll add a video for that. So to stop my recording, I go up here and press this little stop button, and recording stops.